Hello, welcome to Citizens Forum. This is being filmed on Tuesday, October the 27th in the Memorial Arena in Victoria, British Columbia. I'd like to start by thanking our volunteer crew and the Shaw staff that makes this program happen every week. And I also want to start by giving a website page that we've created. And on that page, there's just a bunch of links to websites that people have put together. So I want to thank the person who did it. And it's www.thebridgenewsservice/links. www.thebridgenewsservice.com/links. Doesn't matter, we can keep going. Nothing will stop us. And it's going to be on screen, so you can't get it wrong. So the first part of Citizens Forum is always the Walter and Jack Show. So, Prime Minister Trudeau is going to take over in another couple of weeks, November 4th, another week.
That's right. And God bless him, and I hope him very well, that he does very well. And I think he has a lot promises that he's made.
Yes.
He's going to try to live up to. A lot of the promises really are not that expensive and are not that hard to do. I think that he can do a lot of things quite quickly and you know, show the public that he was sincere with what he was saying.
Yeah. Well, I wonder, I mean, I don't even know. I mean, what I would like to see is the people of Canada kind of brought into the picture, which we have been through this election. And, you know, the Liberals have made a lot of promises, and a lot of people are watching. And some of them are being implemented already. They've stopped this, what I would call stupid idea of canceling door-to-door mail service. Now, that's now, the dismantling has been stopped. I understand we're out of the F-35 now, and I understand that Canada has told the United States that we will be stopping the bombing of the U.S.-funded ISIS terrorists in Syria, but there's no date been given, but something. The big news right now seems to be where Mr. Trudeau is going to be living. That's the big news in the corporate media. Like, they seem to be focusing on that more than anything else.
And you know, there was some shenanigans that went on in the election. You know, right near the end, just 5 days before the election, he fired one of his chief consultants when there's showing that he had communicated with one of the oil companies in regards to lobbying.
You know, that's why I think the people who run the country, didn't necessarily want a majority government, because it was clear that the Liberals were moving up, and you know, they really, because why was that a story? It's only a story because the media makes it a story. If the media didn't report it,
even the Tyee put, they talked about the story being leaked, and they put quotation marks around the leak, because it was the president of the oil company that leaked it to the press. Why would he do that? Nobody knows. Why did he feel so compelled? Yeah. Actually, it wasn't like earth-shattering sort of memo, but the tone was, you know.
So the media played that up.
They really did.
And there was something else. Oh, yeah. I mean, the day before the election, the front page of newspapers across the country were an ad in yellow saying, you know, if you vote Liberal, you know, it's doom. And that was from the Conservative Party. I mean, to put that on the front page of our daily newspapers across the country is weird.
Now, you have to realize, I just want to go back to that little shenanigan, because the fellow that was released from the Trudeau campaign was an employee of Hill and Knowlton.
Yes, which is fundamentally important, because an executive of Hill and Knowlton is also running the NDP campaign under Tom Mulcair.
Exactly. And one has to wonder who hatched the plan to leak the documents, to get the media to put that story up so close to the election that you couldn't do any background research to find out how it all came about. For instance, nobody is divulging exactly who leaked the documents. But, you know, we have Hill and Knowlton running the NDP campaign too. And one has to wonder, was that a little strategy to shift some votes away from the Liberals?
Yeah. But we do now have, and you know, it has to be mentioned that the Liberals only got 40% of the vote. So we didn't vote for a majority Trudeau government, but we're going to get one.
Yeah.
And it's also, you know, that it's a Trudeau government because this was in the newspaper today. I think, it was on CBC. Michael Chong urges MPs to reclaim their influence as Reform Act takes place. Now, this is actually tremendously important. I don't know much about it, but Michael Chong got a private member's bill through the Parliament in the last Parliament, under Harper, he's a Conservative also, that gives our elected members of Parliament some power. And I think it gives them the power to remove the leader if they don't like the leader. And I think that's not a bad idea because in our system, the leader has so much power that they become a dictator. This gives some power back to all the MPs we elect. So they have to, the review and removal of the party leader, the election and review of the caucus chair, I don't know what that means, the expulsion and readmission of caucus members. That means the party leader can't kick somebody out of the caucus because they dare to speak back to him. So those three things and at least one more, but the members of Parliament have to do this, I think, right at the beginning when they have their first meetings. If it's not done right away, then it's gone until the next election, I think. And it's interesting that this is such an important story.
It really is.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it would fit well with the new era, if you want to call it, in Ottawa, and create a little more openness in government. I mean, these are the sort of bills, if they get passed, that you know.
Well, this is passed.
Yeah.
And when our members of Parliament meet in Ottawa, whenever Parliament begins to sit, or even at their first caucus meeting, I don't know when these votes take place, they will vote. If they vote yes, then they get these powers. If they vote no, they lose them, I think, until the next election, but I'm not sure.
No,
and nobody knows about it.
Yeah.
Except us. You wanted, oh yeah, the...
Well, I brought in one story. I mean, you know, this was Times column this October 22nd, and you can read the headline for us.
43 Canada geese killed in Region Cull at $725 each.
Now that's enough to kind of get you going. $725 per goose. But a little further down in the article,
which I never even noticed when I read the article.
Yeah, this is very interesting. They also called 11 deer for the bargain basement price of $270,000. That means it costs $24,500 per deer to call each deer. So round it off to $25,000. You keep that in your memory. Now, the thing is that,
but,
you know,
okay, but I mean, was there a push to do something and they felt they had to do something and you know?
Look, you know, whether you think it's a good idea to cull deer or not,
it shouldn't be costing $25,000.
Let's get down to it here. Okay. $25,000 per deer. You know, and this is an example for me of how out of control the CRD is. The CRD, it does not have any oversight. You know, you have these city councillors that get perpetually appointed to the CRD, and there's 24 of them from last count that I can remember. Don't you think a couple of those councillors would see that and kind of hit the ceiling and maybe do a press release or something and just say, this is outrageous? All 24 think it's great. The mayor of Oak Bay, he thinks it's fantastic. A little quote from Niels Jensen. He believes that some type of a division, which is like some kind of wildlife division, is a necessary next step. The problems are not going to go away on their own. So, we got a group of people that decided to spend $60 million, as far as I can remember, last count, on not building a sewage treatment plant. That they got nowhere. They don't even have a plan. These are the examples, Jack, of why the CRD, there's something dramatic has to happen. And, and we have to get control of the CRD, one way or the other.
I agree. I mean, it's as if, like, for example, later on we're going to be talking about a vote in City Council in Victoria to approve a new BOSA development that really was, the neighborhood did not want that development, and yet the city councillors voted to impose it on them, like the kings and queens of our society. We've got to get control of all of these people. I mean, they are out of control. Our elected leaders are literally out of our control, but they are in somebody else's control. And that seems to be the business community, and at the provincial and federal levels, the corporate community.
Yeah.
And they control our governments on virtually every issue. And that's what has to change. And at the same time, we need to create an independent media that will tell the stories.
The CRD has the same level of jurisdiction as the other municipalities, and that's one of the bigger problems, is that when there's a battle between the CRD and the municipality, nobody trumps, no organization trumps the other. Now, where I'm from in New Brunswick, we have regional governments are called counties, and they do trump the municipalities on a lot of issues around transportation and infrastructure issues and roads and all that. So their jurisdictions are very well laid out, and you have a functional government then. They act on behalf of the public, but they are doing things for a regional manner. Right now, we don't have that. We have a bunch of mayors scurrying around trying to figure something out that they really have not been elected to do. They still have this crazy one big sewage treatment plant plan on the table. It's Plan A, Jack.
Yeah, we should just talk about that too, because, I mean, talk about a potential disaster. We could be going back to exactly the same plan that luckily didn't happen in Esquimalt. Now they've got it, I think, for Rock Bay. But the plan is to spend, I think, $1 billion of our money for zero environmental benefit. That was the original plan, as far as I know. Now, luckily, it didn't happen. But these guys are going to bring it back, and there are better plans out there. There are better plans available, I think. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but there's this conspiracy to not allow those other plans into the process, or so I think. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but based on what I know, which isn't much because there's nothing in the media about this now, it's completely disappeared, but the worst seems to be coming true, and if people don't really keep an eye on it, and I don't know how we can do it, we're going to get that $1 billion shot to the head.
It's so outrageous. I mean, it is just so flies in the face of what's fair and what should be allowed. But when was the last time you voted? You can't vote for the CRD. They do whatever the heck they want. It's just a mysterious organization, including the administration of the CRD. It's very hard to figure out who actually works there and who's running this show. But that works very well for them, and it has worked very well up till now.
Yeah. I mean, so here we are talking about it, but how can we change it? It's like because everything is so corrupt. Take the provincial government, this story that came out last week about the Christy Clark saying, from now on, nobody's going to be deleting emails, right? I mean, she's known about it since she became premier. I mean, it's widely known that they're essentially breaking the law. That's why there's an RCMP investigation going on. I mean, the privacy commissioner is saying that the law has been broken, I don't know if they have any penalties for that, probably not, but...
There are penalties, but they're very rarely ever imposed. And that's one of the reasons why it does go on. If a few people get to cool their heels in jail for 5 or 6 months, I think you'd see those practices slow down quite a bit.
Absolutely, because this is, I mean, it's corrupt. Who do these people think they are? We elect them, and then they have the gall, and we pay them, and they have the gall to just delete everything so we can't find out what they are doing. And then, you know, it passes in a day, and the story's gone, never to be... I mean, we need, like, independent prosecutors who work for us. I think they have them some in the States in places.
Yeah.
If it might be a good idea.
Well, you know, it all ties together in strange ways. I know Saanich Council, who appear not to have a very good grasp on privacy law themselves, given that they bugged the mayor's computer and
have
got away with it. Now there was some questions that were put out in the last election about should we be reviewing governance issues and how the municipalities run. Some vaguely worded issues around governance in the region. This is the time when you can look at the CRD and talk about the CRD, and also point out to, like, Saanich Council how out of touch they are also. But the way they set up this consulting process, it's almost impossible to consult with them. So they, you know, the very people that should be listening have taken over the process and kept, you know, it's basically one of those onerous, convoluted processes that
What process is this?
The Saanich Council is doing a governance review right now.
Okay.
Now, the little that I know about it from reading in the paper, let's face it, but it just looks like business as usual for those guys. They're not going to be looking at any key issues. They're not going to look at any fundamental challenges to the way that things are run. They're going to be doing a public relations exercise on this issue, you know, just much the same way they done other things.
Yeah, it's just not right. You know, it's just not right that I mean, what in a democracy, what the public wants is supposed to be what the public gets, and that's the only. I mean, that's my concern, is that nobody asks the public anymore. They don't care. All of our elected representatives, or at least not enough to win on important votes. Some of them, I'm sure, do care, but it's. You know, and you can go from municipal to provincial to federal.
Yeah, I was looking at the penalties for breaching privacy law. It's quite hard to understand how they actually are found to be innocent or guilty, and it's quite convoluted as to how they impose the penalties. And I think, like the privacy commissioner, when she looked at Saanich Council's behavior, she said she was shocked at how little they knew about privacy law when they broke the law. And but she's making a judgment there, saying that they knew very little about it. Why say that? They might have known a heck of a lot about it.
The staff certainly
knew,
but somebody was ordering the staff to do it.
So, I mean, she's kind of letting them off the hook on that by saying that they did it unknowingly. Well, by the way, you know, it doesn't, you know, ignorance is not a defense here. You know, they did some pretty
and it's been almost
things.
A year now. And, and it's like there was a real public outcry, but it's disappeared.
For now.
For now. I just want to talk a little bit about how I think the media controls the message. There's a story here. I'll hold it up, and you can read the headline.
Oh, yeah. Mulcair, niqab stance was the right thing to do, whatever the cost of the NDP.
Yeah. So this is the story that the media has been putting forward since, you know, midway through the election, when the NDP began to slip. And they said, well, you know, because it was because of his courageous defense of whatever on the niqab issue. But interestingly, the Liberals had exactly the same policy. So why is the media story that it hurt the NDP but it didn't hurt the Liberals? And I think from what I'm hearing from emails I'm getting is that the real story is NDP support began to fall as the Liberals outflanked them on the left and started to talk about issues that people wanted, we don't know if these issues are going to come true, but at least saying those things. But the people who run the country don't want us to think that the NDP was beaten because people wanted something better than their message. They want people to think the NDP was defeated because of a courageous stance on niqabs. And they've created that story and they've put it in people's minds.
Yeah.
And that's the way the media works. And it's a very powerful and underhanded way of manipulating public opinion.
And Jack, just as it's an aside, I more or less agree with you, but you know, if you looked at Mr. Mulcair's, you know, principal positions on several key issues, they were identical to the Conservatives. They were like Harper light, and you know, the balanced budget idea, the attacking Syria, bombing Lebanon, or bombing Libya, this whole ISIS story, which they covered up, the truth about the ISIS story, a story that would have defeated the Harper regime. Mulcair did not mention it. So, I mean,
yeah, and
really,
the story is basically the Harper government working with ISIS in some way.
It's a radical right-wing agenda that in some mysterious way, the Mulcair was supporting.
And the Liberals never mentioned it either, and neither did the media. Nobody ever mentioned that story. And many others.
Yeah.
Like, talk about balanced budgets. I mean, Harper ran up the biggest deficit in Canadian history. And he ran up, I think, about $150 billion over his 9 years.
Yeah.
So the whole story of the election, but here we are, and we can only hope for the best. And personally, I do, Walter.
Well, it's coming to light that the NDP and the Conservatives collaborated, much the same manner that the Liberals and the NDP collaborated here in the last provincial election.
That's the last word.
Bottom line.
Thank you very much for watching this segment of Citizens Forum.